Schwab. All right. I mean, don't call it a comeback. This has been quite the recovery this year for Nvidia and several of the members of the Mag 7, to be honest. But Nvidia, definitely one of the stars. What do you notice when you take a look at this chart? I know you're starting out with a 5-day low.
Yeah, we're going to start out on the short-term view, Diane, and good morning. But I'll tell you what, relentless comeback. I love those descriptions of this because it really truly has been a strong uptrend. Now we get down into the minutia. We're looking here at the 5-day, 5-minute chart, and you can kind of see that downward trend here, which you got to put it into context. It's kind of finding a bit of support down around this 178 mark. This shorter term chart really just suggests that maybe there is a little bit of wait and see ahead of the earnings announcement. You can see the ADX line that I've got down there in the bottom that's kind of rolling back. That's a pressure gauge, and that really tells us kind of the strength of the trend. When it's below the 25 line that's drawn in there, that just suggests that there's really not a lot of investor pressure pushing price higher. You could look at this and say, well, maybe they've been chipping away at this high that the market has been pushing Nvidia to, but the majority of the volume is coming in right around that 182 to 184 level, which I think really is the kind of key level that needs to be broken coming out of the earnings announcement to really push this to some of these elevated highs that the analysts are reaching for in this case, Stein. And we'll put this into context in the longer term chart. But this is, I think, really simply just kind of a wait and see mode ahead of what would be new information in the system, Diane.
So, Ben, we were wondering where you would bring in the plays on words here, and our producer suggested chips and dips, but in my mind, what occurred to me is chips and rips. So, do you see any chips and rips on the chart for 1 year?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, you look at the trend that this has made coming off of those April lows, like so many other stocks. But this, I think, has been kind of the prototypical chip and dip, chip and rip, because that suggests kind of this bull flag perspective. I love it. You guys are as good at this as I am in terms of putting these puns together. But look at the resistance that we've run into here at the 184 mark. The stock has gone sideways. And so when that moves sideways, that suggests that investors aren't getting that price appreciation. And they start to, like I said, chip away at those highs. But once you start to build that pressure, and you can see kind of the RSI down in that lower panel, again, that sentiment gauge falling off a little bit, but it's getting squeezed. And when you squeeze an avocado, you get that squish out. And I think that's what we're looking for here. Gosh, I'm reaching for this one, Diane, but
it's okay, Ben.
If we can get some upward pressure, yeah. If we can get some upward pressure breaking out of 184.
Okay.
No, I was just going to say 184 becomes the resistance.
Okay, yeah. So 184 is the resistance to watch out for on this chart. And I would say
the pioneer of generative AI, which is still in its infancy, is Nvidia. The graphics processing units, GPUs, that provide the processing power that powers AI are provided by the chip maker. Even though Nvidia has expanded rapidly in recent years, it probably has more room to develop and is still reasonably priced. Over the past few years, artificial intelligence, AI, has taken center stage, and there is ample evidence that this is only the beginning. The technology is being used to generate creative content, optimize corporate procedures, and boost productivity, and developers are still coming up with new applications for it. The adoption of AI is still in its infancy, even though it has been in the news for more than 2 years, and the data indicates that spending is constantly increasing. In actuality, the four titans of technology, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, and Meta platforms, are expected to spend over $400 billion this year on the capital expenditures necessary to support their AI goals, and these expenditures don't appear to be slowing down. Spending on data centers is at the top of the shopping list, and Nvidia stands to benefit from a large portion of that investment. The business invented the graphics processing units, GPUs, that carry out the mathematical operations needed to make AI possible, and I believe it will capitalize on the constant need for those chips to join the $6 trillion club. In order to produce realistic visuals for video games, Nvidia invented the first GPU in 1999. Parallel processing, which divides large computing tasks into smaller, easier-to-manage pieces, was the revolutionary innovation that made that possible. Nvidia's GPUs changed the game by enabling the processing of several mathematical calculations at once. This was only the beginning for the modest GPU, which demonstrated its ability to facilitate or speed up other applications, such as those in data centers or the cloud, where most AI processing occurs. With a staggering 92% market share, Nvidia has emerged as the industry leader in data center GPUs, according to business intelligence firm IoT Analytics. Nvidia's stock price and financial results have skyrocketed due to the fervent demand for these specialist chips. Nvidia recorded record sales of $44 billion in the first quarter of fiscal 2026, up 12% sequentially and 69% year-over-year. Adjusted earnings per share (EPS) increased 27% to $0.76 as a result of this. The data center industry, which comprises processors for cloud computing, data centers, and artificial intelligence, was the main attraction. Due to the unrelenting demand for AI, the segment's revenue increased 73% to $39 billion. This might only be the start. By providing the state-of-the-art chips that power the technology, Nvidia stands to gain significantly from the $15.7 trillion AI market, according to Big Four accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. As of this video, Nvidia has the largest market capitalization of any publicly traded corporation in the world, at about $4.44 trillion. This implies that in order to increase its value to $6 trillion, its stock price would have to increase by 35%. Wall Street reports that Nvidia has a forward price-to-sales PS ratio of about 22 and is expected to make over $201 billion in revenue in fiscal 2026, which started in January. To support a $6 trillion market cap, Nvidia would need to boost its revenue to about $272 billion a year, assuming its PS stays the same. According to Wall Street projections, Nvidia's revenue is expected to increase by 53% this year and by 25% the next year. The corporation may reach a $6 trillion market valuation as early as 2027 if it can meet those goals. Don't believe me, though. Nvidia stock might achieve a market valuation of $6.1 trillion during the next 12 to 18 months, according to Loop Capital analyst Ananda Barua, who recently set a street-high price objective of $250. Citing supply chain inspections, the analyst came to the conclusion that Nvidia would stand to gain significantly from the $2 trillion in spending that might result from the widespread use of generative AI and AI factories by 2028. I think Barua's call is prophetic given the pervasiveness of AI. It's critical to keep in mind that these benefits won't happen overnight. So what implications does this have for Nvidia's stock? Let's explore that. But first, a big thank you to those of you who've stuck with us this far. Creating these videos takes significant effort and dedication, so if you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts on Nvidia stock in the comments. Your support truly helps us grow. Now, let's get back to the video. According to a study of Nvidia's data, the company's stock price has dropped by at least 25% from its peak at least 5 times, and it once fell by 66%. However, it would be hard to exaggerate the company's achievements. Nvidia's revenue has increased by 3,735%, and its net income has increased by 13,911% over the last 10 years, notwithstanding the volatility mentioned above. In addition, the company's stock price has rapidly increased by 30,870% due to its unrelenting innovation and excellent financial performance. Right now, Nvidia is selling for 31 times its earnings for the following year, which is undoubtedly a premium. But considering its stellar performance history, reliable execution, and the enormous potential that AI offers, I would contend that it's a tiny price to pay for a business of this caliber. Although the United States and Europe account for the majority of Nvidia's income, the Chinese market offers an estimated $50 billion in potential. Throughout 2025, Nvidia's potential in China has been limited by recent adjustments to export regulations and tariff laws. An agreement between Nvidia and the U.S. government paves the door for Nvidia to regain control of the important Asian market. For semiconductor giant Nvidia, 2025 has already unfolded like a contemporary Greek tragedy, despite the fact that it is only August. It has had numerous setbacks, victories, and everything in between this year. Over $1 trillion of Nvidia's market worth was lost earlier this year. However, the business now has a $4.4 trillion market capitalization, regaining its position as the most valuable corporation globally. China is the main source of Nvidia's problems in 2025, and no, it's not DeepSeek. The true offender is a slew of broad export restrictions and tariffs that have reduced Nvidia's clout in the Chinese AI sector. The tide seems to be turning now, following months of talks with Washington officials. In one of its most important Asian regions, Nvidia might be about to make a comeback. Let's explore why Nvidia's new deal structure in China is a huge victory for investors and go over the specifics. The global total addressable market, TAM for semiconductors, as determined by sales, was valued at $627 billion in 2024, according to accounting and consulting firm Deloitte. According to Deloitte, the industry will reach $2 trillion by 2040, growing at a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 19% during the ensuing decades. China continues to be one of the most significant markets outside of the United States, driving demand for high-performance chipsets, especially graphics processing units, GPUs. According to Jensen Huang, CEO of Nvidia, the AI market in China alone may be valued up to $50 billion. About 13% of Nvidia's $130 billion in revenue in 2024 came from China. Nvidia's $5.5 billion in sales in China during the first quarter of 2025 made up about 12.5% of overall revenue. This leveling trend highlights how Nvidia's potential for regional growth has begun to be limited by the present administration's stance toward China. What makes Nvidia's recent agreement with China so significant? Numerous news sources claim that Nvidia and Washington have struck a consensus on the company's operations in China. As per the agreement, Nvidia would provide the U.S. government 15% of its sales in China. In essence, the agreement gives Nvidia a means to use its customized H20 chips to break into this important sector. Although this could look like a tax at first, investors shouldn't think of it that way. First, unlike traditional forms of taxation, the agreement applies to sales of Nvidia's AI chips rather than earnings. Furthermore, unlike royalties, which are usually linked to intellectual property, IP, and susceptible to change, the 15% rate does not seem to have a changing structure. Even though this transaction might seem out of the ordinary at first, there is precedent for these kinds of arrangements in international commercial operations. For instance, similar revenue-sharing arrangements with host governments in exchange for distribution rights are frequently used by energy corporations that extract commodities or natural resources abroad. I think it's a strategic trade-off to set aside a little portion of revenues to gain access to China. Over time, it keeps domestic competitors like Huawei from weakening Nvidia's competitive moat and enables the company to maintain its leading position in one of the most significant AI sectors in the world. Nvidia's forward price-to-earnings (PE) ratio has been rising lately, although it is still at a lower level than it was at its highest points during the AI revolution. I believe that worries about China, possibly too much so, are reflected in some of this multiple compression. Even with the 15% payment to the U.S. government, Nvidia's new deal with Washington gives the business new life and secures revenue in a crucial market without sacrificing much in the way of profitability. In the long run, I believe this agreement is a calculated move by Nvidia to solidify its position abroad and provide steady expansion in the worldwide market for AI infrastructure. I believe that if these fundamentals solidify, the company's valuation multiples may increase even more, which might propel the stock to new heights earlier than many investors had anticipated. Because of this, I believe that investing in Nvidia stock now and holding onto it for years to come is a wise decision. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
Let's take a look at the markets with major averages hovering near all-time high. Joining us now is Katie Stockton, Fairlead Strategies founder and managing partner, as well as a CNBC contributor. Is there fatigue? Is the rally hated? Is there more left? Are valuations too high, in your view? What?
Maybe all of the above. It is a very persistent uptrend, and we saw a breakout in June to new highs, and there really is nothing bearish about new highs. So there's not a lot not to like about it from a technical perspective. We are skeptical, like everyone else, I think, about its sustainability, and yet the breakout did foster additional upside momentum. It allowed for a price objective of about 68.80 with a time frame of 2026, and left support in its wake right around 61.30, which was former resistance.
I'm down on charts and technical analysis. I think the last couple of moves you've been looking for new lows, and they never came. And you,
in June, we were bearish, looking for retracement.
Both in the time before that, too. So staying bearish. It didn't tell you. Your charts and your technical analysis didn't tell you what was good. They were useless.
The hard part with this is that you see snapshots, right? We write about the markets every day.
Right.
And we were very constructive at the April low and moved to a bearish short-term bias in June. So We have been tracking the indicators very closely. Of course, we can't predict anything, but we do our best to try to keep probabilities on our side.
51% is probably good. So how about oil? I mean, that's 62 today. What's that indicating?
Low 60s. I believe that there's a major low in place. We saw an oversold indication on the monthly chart around the April-May lows in crude oil, and yet we need to see some kind of breakout above resistance to suggest that that downtrend is reversing. The resistance is in the mid-70s, so I think it's got some work to do. And meanwhile, energy just continues to underperform as a sector.
Yeah. With Jackson Hole and with the employment report we got, and then the CPI, PPI, I think the yield curve is more important than ever, probably. But nothing's happened, really. We're even at the low end of the range, aren't we? Sort of with 429.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Remember, we were happy because we had three major levels for the 2-year, the 5-year, and maybe it was the 30-year. But I think we had 4.5 was the one for the 10-year. Got to watch 4.5, and then we had one for, I think, the 2-year, what was it, 4% if it gets above that? And we're well below on the entire...
We've had a neutral bias on yields for pretty much all year.
There
and
you
I think
go. It's like watching paint dry. Like watching grass dry.
It's still appropriate. This morning I was looking at the Fed funds rate relative to the S&P 500. I thought that was an interesting comparison. You look at peaks in the Fed funds rate, and when it peaks, it tends to be associated with peaks in the S&P 500. So it is interesting, and you do feel like people are looking for rate cuts, and they welcome them. And yet the charts would suggest that that's not necessarily something that we should wish for.